So, I'm going to be discussing Indiana Jones and Stellar Theology and Masonic Astronomy by Robert Hewitt Brown, 32 Degree Mason. And first, I'm going to start with page 11, which goes, and I quote, "The mysteries of all the other nations of antiquity were quite similar to those of Egypt, and were no doubt derived from them. In India, the chief deity was triune, and consisted of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Siva, the destroyer." Okay, so it goes on and on. So it's saying it spread, one of the first places it spread was India, and then it spread everywhere else. You understand me? And it spread to India because of the certain bloodline, Dravidian most likely, that traveled over there and spread the ideas with them. Now, as we go on to my next notes, which is on page 37, it talks about the royal arc of heaven, and it starts with Libra and ends with Aries, and it's at its strength at the summer solstice. So we go on to 71, the equilateral triangle, and it was upon the triangle that Pythagoras erected his celebrated and invaluable 47th proposition. Okay, we go on to 75, that the Phoenician artists who constructed the pillars at the porch of King Solomon's temple also imitated the architecture of the Egyptians, and this is possible although no mention is made of the fact in either Kings or Chronicles. We go on to page 87. The keystone. Of what is the keystone emblematic? Is the question. And the answer is of strength, that being the strongest part of an arc, binding the several parts together, and thus enabling it to bid defiance to the elements. So we go on to 91, where it says the same mode of carrying the ark was adopted by the Jews, and it's referring to the Egyptian ark. And it goes on to say, Egyptian ark is that the Egyptian was more like a boat in shape, according to our ideas of a boat, while the Jewish ark is described as being of an oblong square form. And we go on to page 103. In the Middle Ages, it came to be applied to a different sort of sacred drama found on the legend of the Christian religion. These mysteries or religious dramas were, however, performed in public and had no element of secrecy about them. And we go on to page 105. Although the mysteries themselves are traced back historically to the days of ancient Egypt, yet there is no chronological impossibility. Excuse me, let me start again. Although the mysteries themselves are traced back historically to the days of ancient Egypt, yet there is no chronological impossibility or even improbability of the connection with the societies above mentioned. Okay, we go on to 107. The unity of God and the immortality of man as their cardinal doctrines, and that the sun was but a symbol of him whom the sun, moon, and stars obey, and beneath whose all-seeing eye even comets perform their stupendous revolutions. Remember, a revolution isn't just the act of overthrowing a government and bringing change. It is also the revolution or the change in movement of planets. So we go on. I think I had one more, but written down, but I'm gonna skip it. So because I don't know what time I'm at, I'm gonna get to Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, my good friend. Now, what are we talking about here? The Last Crusade, Raiders in the Lost Ark, the snake symbolism. Okay, we go on. Weishaupt, the secret of the Sphinx in Giza. Okay, the Giza Plateau. You got the snake staff of Pharaoh, Upper and Lower Egypt. Go on. The Nazis in Indiana Jones. These are the actors, scumbags. Yes, yes. Why am I talking about actors? Because this guy is putting out his hand, and is he putting out his hand for peace, or is he saying how, in his culture, which is the secret society culture of demons, that he is throwing up his symbol with his hand, and this is where it leads him to a miserable fate of melting in the depths of hell. Because he tied up the righteous, he too will be tied to the flames and the burning pillars of hell. And we go on to the struggle within the Eurocentric Masonic lodges between those who have a somewhat of a positive Eurocentric point of view and those who have a dark, occult, kill 'em all point of view. We go on. What is Indiana Jones reaching for? The symbol of evil, the Totenkopf, the death head, okay, the symbol of skull and bones, on and on, pirate symbol, and he's trying to replace it with a neutral symbol. No can do. We go on. What was the German mastermind in the movie Enemy at the Gates using to control the boy? He was using food. Okay? And why was he using food? Because he knew that the stage of mind in the environments of World War II of a person who is completely normal makes them susceptible to control. And they would do things they normally wouldn't do for that food. The boy, perfectly normal boy, probably a good boy in other circumstances, but he was helping the Nazis because the scum controlled the resources. It's like Ben Bernanke is an agent of Rothschild controlling the resources. David Rockefeller, counselor on foreign relations, controlling the committee that controls the relationship between America and countries abroad that has to do with resources. We go on. The Descent, the Enemy of the Gate. Must I remind you that it wasn't just the Germans who were putting out propaganda, but that one key character in the movie was a propaganda agent who was mad at the main character because he was in love with his woman as well? Stage of mind. State of mind. The resulting behavior. Would an old soul do something like that? Would an old adult do something like that? Would a young adult, ding, 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 in the environments of World War II? I just watching a movie, an old movie called Decision Before Dawn, and one thing the lady said on the bus about halfway into the movie was, first, he was complaining about food. Then he started laughing in a crazy manner. The environment. This is why I made the equation. 6s plus 3e plus 0.5 B and 0.50 equals R. Because it's the environment, first of all, that has to do with your stage of mind. The first variable in the equation. As soon as your stage of mind clashes with that environment, those are the key factors. Everything else, yeah, it plays a part, but it's very minimal. We go on. In fact, that's where I ended.